So when I talk about knowing yourself, one of the best ways to really tune into it, and I do a lot of work on self-care, it's quite simply to think of yourself as a battery. That's all. Nice and simple little battery. And when you think of what a battery does, it brings energy to things, it makes things work. So we are a battery filled with energy. If you were to kind of think about how that feels for you, how full do you think your battery feels right now? I've had an amazing day today, and I love doing talks like this. So my battery is pretty full. But that awareness of if your battery is full or if your battery is empty is really important, because when you're feeling low and drained and empty, that's when you need to replenish and recharge, just like a battery. So it's important to find ways for you to recharge your battery and for you to understand what that means to you. One person's way of recharging their battery could be totally different to another person. So to go and copy, oh, well, this person over here does this, that mightn't be the same thing that works for you. So it's really about knowing what works for you. And sometimes you just have to try on different things to see what fits and what doesn't. So, for example, relaxing and reading might recharge your battery, or going for a nice walk, an energetic, vigorous walk might recharge your battery. And they're quite different things. So play around with it, but tune into your own energy levels. Does my battery feel full or does my battery feel empty? And if that's the only thing you learn from this talk, that potentially can change your life. So if I think of myself as a battery, is that going to cure anxiety? Not really, but what it will do is it'll absolutely develop your own self-awareness. And in doing that, you'll be able to observe your moods a lot easier. How often do you ask yourself, how do I feel? We just react to things. We don't really tune in and stop and say, how am I feeling? Very rarely. So I ask you, how do you feel right now? What's going on in your life? How are you? I'm in Ireland. So when people say, how are you? We say fine. And in different cultures, the word fine means different things. But we don't respond with words like good or bad. We reply with the word fine. And we're nearly doing ourselves a disservice from actually checking in with how we feel. So maybe in your culture, there's a term that's very commonly used that nearly bypasses the answer altogether. So when you have a think about it, how do you feel? If you were to pick an emoji right now to describe your feelings, you could do that quite easily. But when we put it into words, how do you feel? I think it's really important. So being able to speak the words you feel, along with the awareness of how your battery feels and how full you feel and how you recharge your battery, so empowering. It's so empowering because then you can start to shape the kind of world you want. You can take control of your own world. And when you have that self-awareness, you know what is dangerous and what is not, and what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. And that's a really good place to start from a point of view of managing your worry and managing your anxiety. I'll let you in on one of the most profound pieces of information that I have ever learned. Your thoughts are not real. Our thoughts, I love to think of them like clouds. There's so many different descriptions I've heard to use about how our mind works and how our thoughts work. But your thoughts are not actually real. They're not fact. They're not real. What you think today, you could think very differently tomorrow. Our thoughts are usually based on our mood, on a load of biases, and all of these different things, and what we're told how things should be. And the word should as well has a huge thing in shaping how our thoughts are. Think of your thoughts like clouds. They come and go. Sometimes they're dark and sometimes they're light and fluffy. Sometimes they make shapes. Sometimes the shapes change really quickly. The thing about the thoughts, well, thoughts are not real. The feelings they give us are. So if I'm thinking, if I'm looking in the mirror and I'm thinking, wow, I look good today, my mood is going to be a great mood. I'm going to have such a positive vibe going on. If I look in the mirror and I say, ugh, look at my skin, I'm having such a bad day. My hair is greasy, my skin has breakouts. I feel like crap. That's how you're going to feel for the rest of the day. So your mindset, your attitude, and your thoughts from the very start of the day have a big way in how your world is shaped. Thoughts aren't real. I could genuinely spend a week talking to you about that and the science behind it. There is a whole load of science behind this. But all I'd ask you to do right now for the purpose of understanding anxiety is to just think of your thoughts like a cloud, like several clouds, like the sky. Sometimes the sun comes out and sometimes the rain comes out. So in that moment, even when there's a storm in your head and everything feels dark and grey, it'll pass. And if you know anything about Irish weather, the weather changes here probably about 50 times a day. So it's very easy to think of, for me anyway, to think of my thoughts as clouds. So what can we do to reduce anxiety? I'm sure you know this, and I'm going to say it because I can't ever talk about anxiety without saying this. You need to nurture your body. Eating healthily, getting proper sleep, eating good foods full of nutrition, and hydrating, drinking enough water and fluids has such an impact, a massive impact on our anxiety and on our worry and on our ability to cope with stress and on our immune system. And nobody really likes being told that because it's a reality check none of us want, myself included. I don't really want to hear that I should be exercising more or maybe eating a little bit healthier. But it has such an impact in our mood, in our behaviors, and food and exercise also connects with our sleep. If you sleep better, you will be a less anxious person. Laughing and crying. Very simple thing, like, is there shame in crying? Is it okay to cry? Do you ever cry? And laughing as well. Do you laugh on your own? Do you laugh easy? Do you laugh with friends? What makes you laugh? Laughing and crying produces endorphins. Actually, the same endorphins that exercise produces. And that automatically reduces your anxiety because the chemicals that are flooded through your body, endorphins are considered a happy hormone. Even if it comes from crying, there's a release in that. The endorphins that get produced actually have an impact on lowering your anxiety. Knowing your limits, that is to do with the whole sense of self-awareness and being a battery. Sometimes there are situations that just aren't good for you, or people or environments. And to be aware of that, then you can design a world where you have limited exposure to these situations, or you just avoid them. There's no point in putting yourself in a toxic situation that's going to be detrimental or poor for your health. But knowing your limits, it starts with that whole piece of who am I? Who am I? Who am I? How does my battery feel? What are my limits? Hugs. Yes, it's scientific. Hugs reduce anxiety. Again, to do with happy hormones, and the hormone connected with hugs is oxytocin. So hugs actually scientifically are proven to lower anxiety. Manage your self-talk. How we speak to ourselves has a huge impact on our self-belief, our self-esteem, and our self-worth. Sometimes our anxiety is caused by how we think other people see us. A lot of that is a reflection from how we talk to ourselves. So be careful of the words you say to yourself. I'd really encourage you to wake up every day. And like I said, when you're looking in the mirror, that first impression you get of yourself, to try and be as positive as you can be because you're amazing. Do you know something? You've survived every single day of your life so far. That's kind of incredible. That makes you a survivor and an amazing one at that. And it's something you're good at. So even if the best you can do, because you're feeling quite poorly that morning, is say, I'm a survivor and I'm good at it. Great. Good for you. Break everything down into small, manageable tasks. I had a teacher, I still remember this. She always used to say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And we'd grown when she said it because she said it so often. But now that I have my own company, I understand what she means. It's about Looking at something, and instead of feeling overwhelmed because that's too much to do, break it down into smaller tasks. Make a big goal become loads of smaller goals so that it feels achievable, so you're not overwhelmed, so that you can constantly see the progress that you're making. And express your feelings. Talking to people, talk about your anxiety, talk it out, talk about your worries and your fears. You might actually find out that there's not that much to be worried about, or maybe there is, and someone can help you. The actual act of talking it out, there's a whole lot of industry on talk therapy, counseling, psychology, psychotherapy, psychiatry. All of these mental health professions have proven that talk therapy is the most effective way to have improved mental health. So talk about it. And everybody, myself included, hates to hear this. Another amazing way to reduce anxiety is to learn how to compromise. I'm not going to say much more on that. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So respect others and their differences. We have to allow for differences in the world. We can't all be the same. We just can't. There'd be no evolution if differences didn't happen, if there wasn't somebody trying to do something different. We wouldn't survive. How would you get the newest iPhone if everybody was trying to be the same? There'd never be any new technology. There'd never be anything new. So be yourself, your true self, but also respect other people and let them be their true selves. And that means that you're just going to have to tolerate people's differences, but that's okay. That's what makes the world so interesting. Think happy thoughts. Sounds simple, shapes your whole attitude, and can change your world. Train yourself to think happy thoughts. Might seem easier said than done. One happy thought right now, go. And linking to that, focus on the positive. We can focus on the negative, we can obsess on the negative, we can turn it over in our heads again and again and again. And what good is it going to do? Turn your worries into problems that need solving. When you're worrying about things in your mind, try to think of how can I resolve this? Has this problem got a solution? What can I do about it? Even get a pen and paper and write it out. Focus on the positive. What can you do? Not what you can't do. You do have power. What power is that? What can you do? Focus on the can. Meditation, relaxation, and mindfulness. I put those together. It genuinely doesn't make a huge difference right now in your life if you're into mindfulness or if you're into meditation, honestly. If you are, super. There's a load of scientific benefits that have been proven that they reduce depression, they reduce anxiety. But relaxation is a good way to access similar effects to meditation and mindfulness. So don't worry about being able to sit in a cross-legged position like a pretzel and meditate for 3 hours a day. You don't quite need to do that, but you do need to find a way to switch off and relax every day. And something that might help you do that is to write in a journal, keep a diary. I know there's the whole fear of your diary being read by others, but to even just write it out, brainstorm it, write out the feelings, get them out of your head, because when they're in your head, they're taking up space. Get them out of your head onto paper. If you need to destroy them, then that's okay. That's okay. But get those thoughts out of your head, write them out. And big things that absolutely help reduce your anxiety is helping other people, looking after pets, and being grateful and thankful and saying thank you. You don't know what somebody else is going through in their life. You really don't. And it's amazing how a smile and a thank you and recognition that other people might also have their problems can go such a long way, because everybody deserves to matter. Everybody. We are all precious human beings.